Go ahead. Go ahead and close your eyes. I'm going to go ahead and pray. God, I ask that you would be with my classmates today, and I ask that you would open their eyes and their ears and their hearts, God, and help them to be able to listen to this for what it is. Just bless me and help me calm my nerves and help me to say what you want me to say. In your name I pray, amen. A woman came home to find herself shaking profusely, or her husband shaking profusely in front of the kitchen counter. As she assessed the situation farther, she noticed that there was a wire coming from the man's waist to an electric tea kettle that was on the counter. So we all know women have awesome instincts, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So this woman ran through the house looking for something to knock her husband away from this deadly current. She found a plank of wood. So she ran up to him and just smacked him in the arm with it. Broke his arm in 2 places. Up until that point, her husband had been listening to his Walkman. Alright, things aren't always as bad. My main idea today is things aren't always as they appear. If you want to turn your Bibles to Luke, I'm going to be reading from chapter 10, verses 30 through 35. When you get it, go ahead and give me a hey-o. Alright. A man was going down from Jerusalem to Jericho when he went away, when he fell into the hands of robbers. They stripped him of his clothes, beat him and went away, leaving him half dead. A priest happened to be going down the same road. When he saw the man, he passed on by the other side. So too a Levite. When he came to the same place, he saw him and passed by on the other side. But a Samaritan, as he traveled, came to where the man was, and when he saw him, took pity on him. He went to him and bandaged his wounds, pouring on oil and wine. Then he put the man on his own donkey, took him to an inn, and took care of him. The next day he went and put 2 silver coins and gave them to the innkeeper. Look after him, he said, and when I return, I will reimburse you for any expenses you have. My first point today is don't look like a Christian, be a Christian. We see a priest. This priest was an expert on the law. He knew the ins and outs of the law. He knew exactly what to do. He knew exactly what to do. He was an expert on the law. Yet he walks right by this man who's bleeding out on the side of the road. It seems like he was more concerned with he was more concerned about what people thought about him rather than actually taking time and helping people who needed his help. Don't stand around and look like a Christian. Get to know God. Get to know what He wants for you. I was reading this story, and there was a man, a new minister for a church, and he was I know my story. I just have to think of it. There's a new minister who was asked to teach a Sunday school class for boys, and so he did it, and he wanted to test the boys' knowledge a little bit. So he went and asked the boys, who tore down the walls of Jericho? And none of the boys knew. They're all like, I didn't do it. You know? So the minister was like, he was just flabbergasted at their ignorance. So he brought it up at the next deacons meeting. And he was like, I can't believe that none of these boys know who tore down the walls of Jericho. And everything got really quiet for a minute. And one of the elder deacons goes, I've known these boys my whole life. They're good boys. Like, if they say they didn't do it, they didn't do it. Why don't we just take the money out of the repair and maintenance fund, fix the wall, and let it be at that? Like, I'm dumbfounded when I think about how stupid people in the church can be. That's an easy Bible story. There's a video game about it when I was a kid. Like, how do you not know that Joshua walks around, So anyway, don't look like a Christian, or don't look like a Christian, be a Christian.
All right.
My second point today is don't talk about it, do it. We see a Levite who was known for debating and observing the law. We see that he knew the law just as well as the priest, but he would talk about it with other people. He knew it. But still, he walked right by this man who he should have helped. Yeah. In the same light, we can see the young man, the teenage boy who is trying to get that hot girl. You know, the one that's like, yeah, I want a guy who wants God's heart and not my pants. You know what I mean? And so the guy's like, okay, yeah, God's number one in my life, just to get the girl. At the same time, he's just telling her that so he can get the girl. So they go out, and one thing leads to another, and he ends up taking advantage of her. Now they're both on an emotional roller coaster for the next 9 months. If he decides to stick around that long. Talk's extremely cheap. God isn't. You have to give up everything to follow God. My third and final point today is don't hate, appreciate. The lesson that can be learned is from the guy who should have walked right by him, the Samaritan. Samaritans hated Jews. Samaritans were not pure descendants of Abraham, so they were bitter that the Jews would hold that over their heads. So, my story for this is, growing up, I got a lot of spankings. And I can remember one time in church, I have an older brother, and if you know anything about older brothers, they can throw you right into the line of fire without getting in it themselves. So my older brother was joking around in church, and I got to laughing a little bit, and it got louder and louder, until finally my mom just grabbed my hand and yanked me out of church. She took me to the church kitchen. Church kitchen, huh? Yeah, there's things like spoons, spatulas, knives. Anyway, my mom grabs a wooden spoon and she says those famous words, "This is going to hurt you more than it's going to hurt me." So my mom goes to just wail on me, right? And I give her one of those, you know, the grace for it type things. So she hits me. But looking back, that's the only kind of discipline I would respond to. It's the only thing that would get my attention. The only thing that would say, "Hey Jake, don't do this," you know? And even though, like, with tears in my eyes, I would scream at my mom, "I hate you. Like, I hate you." It hurts so bad. Like, I can look now and see that and appreciate that kind of discipline. Like, my mom took the time to discipline me. Like, I don't know, I think that's what good parents do. But my mom knew that it would hurt her to spank me and to hear me cry and to hear me scream that I hated her, rather than just the temporary pain that was on my butt. She saw potential where I saw a wooden spoon. Things aren't always as they appear. Conclusion. I was reading my Bible and I saw this like, I don't know, it's like a little text thing. It was called a collection of attitudes. And it was just right below the parable, and I wanted to read it to you guys. To the robbers, the wounded man was someone to use and exploit. To the religious men, the wounded man was a problem to be avoided. To the innkeeper, the wounded man was a customer to serve for a fee. To the Samaritan, the wounded man was a human worth being cared for and loved. To Jesus, all of them and all of us were worth dying for. Go ahead and close your eyes and bow your heads. Who in here would say, "I want to be an authentic Christian, and I appreciate the opportunity, and I want to appreciate the opportunities that God has placed in front of me"? Would you just raise your hand? All right, I'm going to go ahead and pray. God, I ask that you would just be with us today, Lord. I ask that you would help us to bear your character. Help your light to shine through us. Make us authentic, God. I ask that you would just lift my classmates up and lift me up, God, and make us the men and women of God that you've called us to be. I ask in your name I pray. Amen.